coming to you from the My Little Falls studio here in beautiful Little Falls, New York. It's your host, Scott Kinville, and another episode of Marty's Illegal Stick.
And welcome to episode number 21 of Marty's Illegal Stick, recorded here on April 14th, 2021. Guys, I just realized our show is 21. It's of drinking age. So that means the next one we got to do from a bar.
I'm going to start drinking now.
Anyways, I'm Scott Kimball, and just to give everybody the heads up, we don't have a guest today because of scheduling conflicts all over the board. But we've got a really, really fun show lined up for you anyway, because we're going to do something I've been wanting to do for a while. So before we get started with that, I'm going to bring in our panel that's going to help us with the smorgasbord of hockey fun we're going to have today. So first of all, my father, Leo Kindle.
Hello, Scott. Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Glad to be here.
I see that. You're in a cheery mood, and that's a good thing. And next, making his return appearance, the doctor of hockey, Dr. Keith Levatino. What's going on, Keith?
Nothing. I went through all my hats in the basement, and I finally found my Islander one. So
beautiful.
Yep.
You know what? I can see it from here. That's awesome.
There you go. How about that? There you go.
And last but certainly not least, we have finally sprung him from work. He no longer has to work on the night of, no, I won't say that, but tonight he doesn't. He's home in time. I don't have to say anymore. It is the Emmy Award winning Shikutami, Rich Masucci. What's up, brother?
I love it.
Welcome back.
Good to be back.
Well, we're glad to have you back. So, like I said, we don't have a guest today, but what we're going to do instead, since we just had the college basketball March Madness tournament, we're going to have our own hockey version. We're going to call this Marty's Madness. Okay, so this is going to be a March Madness style tournament. Of course, not as long, but we're going to determine who the best team is since 1967 until the present. Now, the reason I chose 1967 as the cutoff date is because, frankly, with all the teams that are involved, we would be here for about 5 days trying to figure it out. And two, 1967 is pretty, I mean, other than Dad, who would know all the teams from before 1967, we really wouldn't. So, got to try to keep it fair and observational, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, the teams in this tournament must have won a Stanley Cup. Okay. And this is for individual teams, not the dynasties as a whole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off the matchup with a quick blurb about each team. And then Keith and Rich, we're going to make their choices. If they agree, great. We move on to the next. But if they disagree, then it gets turned over to Judge Leo to decide who has the better choice as to what team is going to advance. Okay. So what we've done is we have the team split into two conferences, and I named them the Prince of Wales and the Campbell Conference because that's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and for reference, the year that these teams are being announced, it's the year that they won the cup. Okay. So does anybody have any questions before we get started?
No questions.
Okay. Nope. So qualifying matchup in the Prince of Wales Conference, matchup number one is the 1994 New York Rangers versus the 1975 Philadelphia Flyers. I'm going to give you a little background on each team. So for the 1994 Rangers, the key players from that team were Mark Messier, Brian Leach, Mike Richter, Jeff Bukaboom, Adam Graves, Alexei Kovalev. Their regular season record was 52, 24, and 8. They won the President's Trophy, and their coach was Iron Mike Keenan. The 1994 Rangers were a team that was destined to win. Loaded with championship experienced veterans, the Rangers would win the President's Trophy as the league's best regular season team. After rolling through the first two playoff rounds, they defeated the New Jersey Devils in an all-time memorable 7-game series. They would then beat the Vancouver Canucks in another 7-game thriller to win their first Stanley Cup in 54 years. And now here's a little bit about the 75 Flyers. Their key players were Bobby Clark, Bernie Perron, Dave Schultz, Bill Barber, Reggie Leach, and Moose DuPont, amongst others. Their regular season record was 51, 18, and 11, and they were coached by Freddie Shero. Led by Hart Trophy winner Bobby Clark and Vezina Trophy winner Bernie Perron, the Broad Street Bullies were a terrifying team, exemplified by Dave Schultz's NHL record 472 penalties in minutes. In the playoffs, the Flyers almost blew a 3-0 series lead against the Islanders, but won in 7 games. They defeated the Buffalo Sabres 4-2, including the infamous 5 game at the Autumn Buffalo to win the Stanley Cup. So there's your first matchup, boys. And for the first answer, I'm going to go to Keith. What do you think? Who's better?
So I remember both series fondly. You believe it or not, even the 75 series, because obviously being an Islander fan, I was really in tune to that series because the series before the Islanders were down 0-3 against the Penguins and came back and won. I think at that time they were one of two that ever did that in that history. But the reality was they were probably lucky to take the Flyers to 7 games. The Flyers were good. They had role players. Perron was really good. With that being said, I think the Rangers, I can't believe I'm going to say this, I think that they would come out and be the team that was better. I'll even go as far as saying they probably beat that Flyers team 6, maybe 5 games. You cannot bet against the team with Mark Messier. Say what you want about the guy. He's a winner. He knew how to win in every place he went. And I think he made winners out of them. Anyone that can guarantee will win tonight against a Lou Lamoriello Devils team who probably could have beat them in that series. Because remember, they went back to New Jersey down 3 games to 2. So Messier makes that prediction. They won Game 7 in overtime. Granted, Vancouver took them to 7, but Vancouver had a good team. They had Pavel Bure then, right?
They sure did. Yep.
Right? Okay. So, I mean, I think that Rangers team. Do you want to know another fact about that Rangers team? Do you know who they beat in the first round?
Yeah, it was the Islanders.
Yes, they swept the Islanders. And let me tell you, the Islanders were not bad. They were coming off that year before where they stunned the Penguins.
Right.
Remember that. So their competition was probably better. So make a long story short, I'm going to have to go with the Rangers.
And go get yourself some Pepto-Bismol.
You know what?
Rich.
I think you deliberately did this just to add to my aggravating day.
Well, I wanted to get out of the way early.
Thank you.
Rich, what do you think?
There's really not much left to say. Except that I'm actually going to agree with that. I'm going to make Leo's day over there. And
You just did. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we've got our first elimination then.
You see, Rich, on that Flyer team, all the people he mentioned, including Fred Sherrill, I'd never liked one of them except for Moose DuPont and Bernie Perrant. Those are the only 2 I liked out of that whole list he just come up with.
Yeah, but did you like Fred Sherrill when he went to coach the Rangers?
No.
Oh, okay, just checking.
Not at all.
All right, then. Moving right along.
Scott, you know what's interesting about that Flyers team? We tend to forget because they were the bullies and everything. They were sandwiched in between 6 Stanley Cup Canadian winning teams.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
very true.
People forget that. And the people forget that late 70s Canadians.
Oh, no. We didn't forget that in this tournament. Don't you worry. You're going to hear from them again.
All right, there you go.
Okay, so next matchup number 2 is going to be the 1972 Boston Bruins versus the 1989 Calgary Flames. So for the 1972 Boston Bruins, their key players were Bobby Orr, Phil Esposito, Johnny Busick, Derek Sanderson, Ken Hodge, Jerry Cheevers, and Eddie Johnston. They were coached by Tom Johnson, and their regular season record was 54-13-11. Led by Norris Trophy winner Bobby Orr and Art Ross Trophy winner Phil Esposito, the 1972 Bruins were a dominating team. In the playoffs, they suffered just 1 defeat in their first 2 rounds. And in the final, they defeated the New York Rangers 4 games to 2, with Bobby Orr winning the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. And now let me get to the 89 Flames here. Give me just a second. My notebook of fun here my book that I wrote here. All right. So the 89 Calgary Flames, their key players were Joe Nieuwendyk, Al McInnes, Joe Mullen, Theo Fleury, Doug Gilmour, Lanny McDonald, and Mike Vernon. With a regular season record of 54-17-9, their coach was Terry Crisp. After playing second fiddle for most of the 80s to the Edmonton Oilers, the Calgary Flames finally broke through and won a cup of their own in 1989. The Flames dominated the regular season, winning the President's Trophy. The Stanley Cup final was a rematch of the 1986 with Patrick Roy and the Montreal Canadiens. This time, the Flames would prevail with Hall of Famer Lanny McDonald scoring the cup-clinching goal. So this time, I'm going to go to Rich first. Rich, who was the better team?
Oh, like you almost want to say the Bruins. I do want to say the Bruins because just like you said, Bobby Orr, man. I mean, how do you go against Bobby Orr in that? But I'm going to tell you something. I actually had to look back on that roster, the Flames roster. and I forgot just how much talent they had on there.
Mhm.
Good team. So,
Absolutely.
so as I was looking at that, I'm like, wow, I almost have to go. I will go with the Flames. I'm going to do it.
Okay. Interesting. I like it. How about you there, Doctor?
Neuendijk, rookie, his rookie year, scored 51 goals. I remember, quality sniper. McInnes, his slap shot was got to be top 10, I would think.
Look at the sticks he was using.
Yeah. I forgot about Mike Vernon. I'm going to have to agree. I just think that they were a stronger, more bigger team. I think coaching balances out, but again, I'm going with the more recent team because I see hockey has evolved a little. So I'm going to go with the Flames. Now, a quick funny story about the Flames. I'll never forget the next year when they lost, there was a cartoon in the hockey news that had the Islanders, it said 4. It had the Edmonton Oilers 4. And then it had Lanny McDonald shooting a golf club saying 4 because I'll never forget that because they were actually expected to win a few more.
Sure.
I remember them being that good. So I agree. I'll go with the Flames.
I can't believe all this harmony we've got going on. And by the way, you know who eliminated the Flames the following year? It was the LA Kings. So
it was Gretzky, right?
Yes, it was. Oh, all right. Well, there we got 2 for 2 in agreement. Unbelievable. Maybe we'll get something different here on this one. I think we will, because matchup number 3 features the 1991 Pittsburgh Penguins versus the 2001 Colorado Avalanche. Now, I could probably just have Rich read this part off, but I'm going to do it anyways. So, the key players for the 91 Penguins were Mario Lemieux, Paul Coffey, Mark Recchi, Kevin Stevens, Tom Barrasso, Ron Francis, and Jaromir Jagr. They had a regular season record of 41, 33, and 6, and they were coached by Badger Bob Johnson. After acquiring Ron Francis, Zarley Zalapsky, and Ulf Samuelsson at the trade deadline, the Penguins would win the Patrick Division and battle their way to the Stanley Cup Final. There, they met the upstart Minnesota North Stars, who put up a valiant fight, but fell to the Penguins 4-2. Mario Lemieux had 44 points for the playoff season, nearly breaking Wayne Gretzky's record, but he still won the Conn Smythe Trophy. Think about that one for a second. Well, I get to the 2001 Avalanche, which are right here. And their key players were Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg, Ray Bourque, Patrick Waugh, Milan Hajduk, Alex Tanguay, and Adam Foote. They had a regular season record of 52, 16, 10, and 4, winning the President's Trophy, and they were coached by Bob Hartley. The 2001 Avalanche were a great team that got even better with the trade deadline acquisition of Rob Blake. Led by Hart Trophy winners Joe Sakic and Vezina Trophy winner Patrick Waugh, the high-flying Avs met the staunch New Jersey Devils in the final, defeating the Devils in 7 games. This would be Hall of Fame legend Ray Bourque's first Stanley Cup, and he would retire after the game, going out a champion. So, Keith, I'm going to go to you first. Who you got?
Well, I didn't realize the Avalanche's record was that. What were they, like 5-6 games in the regular season better than the Penguins' record? Is that what?
Actually, a little bit more than that. Actually.
Yeah, I didn't realize it would have been that drastic. I think it comes down to Mario Lemieux versus Patrick Waugh, and man, that's a tough one. I mean, my heart says Pittsburgh, but Raw has 4 Stanley Cups, but that doesn't matter because it's each team. I'm gonna go with. I think I'll go with Pittsburgh. I think they were more. I think they were more dominant. Even though their record, they were more dominant in the playoffs. I remember them being a force, like unbelievable that year. Lemieux, the whole bit, Jagr. I personally think if you compare the trade deadline acquisitions, the Francis pickup was more significant than the Blake pickup. So
I think that's a good point.
I think I would have to go with that. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh.
Well, Rich, you're going with the Avalanche, right?
Absolutely going with the Avalanche. It's basically a Hall of Fame team, and Zalapsky, man. I mean, Zarley Zalapsky, you can't get it. So, no, I mean, it's true. It's like, they were a dominant team. And what was the final game of that? Was that the 8-0? I think they won that last game of the Stanley Cup 8-0.
I think they did.
That team was just ridiculous. I'm sure you're gonna hear me saying their name a little more as we go along.
I'm sure we will, Rich. I don't think there's any fear about that. All right, so for the fourth and final matchup in the Prince of Wales Conference, we have got those 1977 Montreal Canadiens versus the 1999 Dallas Stars. So for the 1977 Montreal Canadiens, their key players were Guy Lafleur, Ken Dryden, Steve Shutt, Larry Robinson, and Guy Lapointe. Their regular season record was 68-12 for 132 points, which is an NHL record. Their coach was Scotty Bowman. Considered to be the best of the four consecutive Cup winners for the Montreal Canadiens in the late 70s, the 77 team had it all. Led by MVP Guy Lafleur and Vezina Trophy winner Ken Dryden, the Canadiens rolled through the regular season and the playoffs. They swept the Bruins in the final, and Ken Dryden won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP with an absurd 1.55 goals against average. That's just crazy if you think about it. So, for the 99 Dallas Stars, their key players were Mike Modano, Brett Hull, Darian Hatcher, Sergei Zubov, Joe Nieuwendyk, and Ed Belfour. They went 51-19-12, winning the President's Trophy, and their coach was Ken Hitchcock. The Dallas Stars ripped through the regular season, collecting the President's Trophy for their efforts. In the playoffs, they advanced to the final after a hard-fought 7-game series versus the Colorado Avalanche. They met Dominik Hasek and the Buffalo Sabres, whom they finally defeated in 6 games after a controversial goal in the third overtime of Game 6 by Brett Hull, if we all recall that skate in the crease goal. So, Rich, who was the better team?
I don't even think this is really that big of a match. I'm going to be honest with you, Canadiens all day long.
I was thinking that.
What did he say? Canadiens?
Yeah.
What was the Stars' record again?
I'll get it back to you afterwards. Yeah. Okay, so Keith, who you got?
Same, right on. I remember watching that Canadiens team. I mean, any team that wins above 60 games. And I think your statement that was the best team of that 4-year run, that's significant. And they just demolished everyone. I mean,
they did too.
There was no weakness. Role players, stars. I can't remember who any of their centers were, to be honest with you. I always just think of Lafleur, but I mean, I think of Dryden. Didn't he beat the Russians?
Well, they had Gainey.
Gainey.
Remember Bob Gainey?
Bob Gainey. Yeah, absolutely. Savard, Serge Savard, right? Yeah, no, I agree. I would be. They probably would have swept the Stars.
Yeah, that one was kind of a no-brainer. But we had to have that matchup somewhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's it for the Prince of Wales for the qualifying round there. Now we're going to move to the Campbell Conference. You guys are going to like this matchup. Okay, you're going to get a good laugh, so go ahead. It's going to be the 1985 Edmonton Oilers versus the 2014 LA Kings. The key players for the 85 Edmonton Oilers were Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Yari Curry, Paul Coffey, Glenn Anderson, and Grant Fuhrer. They had a regular season record of 49-20-11, and they were coached by Glenn Sather. The 85 Oilers were a buzzsaw led by Wayne Gretzky's 208 regular season points, Yari Curry's 71 goals, and defenseman Paul Coffey's 121 points. In the playoffs, the Oilers lost a total of only 3 games and defeated the Philadelphia Flyers to win the Cup. Gretzky set the NHL record for playoff points scored with 47. Dominating team indeed. And now on to the 2014 LA Kings. Their key players were Andrzej Kopitar, Drew Doughty, Dustin Brown, Jonathan Quick, Jeff Carter, Dustin Williams, and Marian Gaborik. They had a regular season record of 46-28-8, and they were coached by Daryl Sutter. The 2014 LA Kings were not a great regular season team, finishing the 6th seed of their conference, but it was in the playoffs where they turned it on. They came back from being down 3-0 against San Jose to win the series in 7, and won both of their next 2 series against Anaheim and Chicago in 7 games as well. In the final, they beat the New York Rangers in 5 games on a double overtime goal by Alex Martinez to win their 2nd cup in 3 years. So, Rich, go ahead and break my heart. Who's the better team?
Well, I'm going to go with the Kings. And no, come on. I would love to, man. I'm not getting it, so I'm going to go ahead and just tell you the truth. It's the Oilers. So, yeah. Oh, it gets a Gretzky team like that, so.
Yeah, I agree. It's okay. So, Keith, just go ahead and agree with them so we can get this formality over with.
Well, first off, let's praise the Kings because they beat the Rangers. So, All right. Well, I mean, let's see.
Keith, I can remember that because the Islanders are coming up here, buddy.
Let's give credit where credit is due. So that was, it's interesting. If they don't come back and beat the Sharks, do the Rangers win the Stanley Cup that year?
Boy, I don't know.
I don't remember.
Right?
I don't know.
You just don't know. Interesting.
But you know what, though? I honestly, they would have still had to deal with Chicago. Chicago was tough that year, too.
Yeah. So, but I have to agree. I mean, even though I despise the Oilers, I mean, they were a machine. I mean, I think if you put that team up against mostly any other team, that'd be a tough way to go against them. So they were good.
Okay. Well, here, our next matchup is going to be a little bit tougher. Okay. So the next matchup is the 2002 Detroit Red Wings versus the 2010 Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh, that is tough.
Yeah. So the key players for the Red Wings were Steve Yzerman, Sergei Fedorov, Brett Hull, Nick Lidstrom, Luke Robitaille, Chris Chelios, and Dominik Hasek. They went 51, 17, 10, and 4 to win the President's Trophy, and they were coached by Scotty Bowman. The 2002 Detroit Red Wings were loaded with Hall of Fame talent. After steamrolling through the regular season, they lost the first 2 games of their first-round playoff series against the Vancouver Canucks before knocking them off in 6 games. But their hated rival, the Colorado Avalanche, in the 7-game series to advance to the final, where they crushed the Carolina Hurricanes in 5 games to win the Stanley Cup. Now, the 2010 Chicago Blackhawks. Their key players were Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith, Marian Hossa, Patrick Sharp, Dustin Byfuglien, and Antti Niemi. Their regular season record was 52, 22, and 8, and they were coached by Joel Quenneville. The 2010 Blackhawks finished the regular season first in the Central Division. They then proceeded to beat Nashville and Vancouver in 6 games each before sweeping the 1-seed San Jose Sharks to make the final. There, they beat a plucky Philadelphia Flyers team in 6 games, with the cup-winning goal coming from Patrick Kane, a shot that only he realized went in at first. This was the first of 3 Stanley Cups in the decade for the Hawks. So, Keith, I'll go to you first. Who's better?
Well, for me, that comes down to Scotty Bowman, because coaches may play a role in this, and Chelios. I think Chelios was very underrated. He was a pain in the you-know-what, but he was good. So I'm gonna go with Detroit. I'm gonna go with the Yzerman and Bowman and Chelios.
Okay. How about you, Rich?
Well, this was the hardest one that we had to pick from.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. I thought maybe right here we get our first toss up. We can kick it over to Leo, but it's not going to happen.
Ooh. The winged wheel takes both votes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, so let's scratch the 2010 Chicago Blackhawks off the list. Now, guys, for the next matchup, I got to tell you there's a typo. Okay? It's supposed to be the 1982 New York Islanders, not the 81. My bad. So it's the 1982 New York Islanders versus the 2016 Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, I know we're going to get a conflict here. Finally, right? So the key players for the New York Islanders were Brian Trottier, Dennis Potvin, Billy Smith, Butch Goring, Mike Bossy, and Clark Gillies. Regular season record of 54, 16, and 10, and they were coached by Al Arbor. The third of 4th consecutive Stanley Cup winning teams, the 82 team was led by scoring-wise by Mike Bossy's 64 goals. The key to this team's success was teamwork, and they set a then NHL record by winning 15 consecutive regular season games, all in regulation. In the final, the Islanders demolished the Vancouver Canucks 4-0, with Bossy winning the Conn Smythe. Rich, your 16 Penguins. Their key players were Sidney Crosby, Kenny Malkin, Chris Letang, Chris Kunitz, Phil Kessel, Marc-Andre Fleury, and Matt Murray. They had a regular season record of 48, 26, and 8, and they were coached by Mike Sullivan. The 2016 Pittsburgh Penguins finished the regular season in 2nd place in the Metropolitan Division behind the Washington Capitals, who would win the President's Trophy that season. In the playoffs, they got revenge on the Rangers, who had eliminated them in the previous 2 seasons. Then they continued to be a thorn in the Capitals' side by eliminating them. They took the Lightning down in 7 games to make the final. In winning the Stanley Cup, the Penguins beat the San Jose Sharks in 6 games, with Sidney Crosby winning the Conn Smythe Trophy. So, Rich, I'll give you the first opportunity.
Oh, man, you would have to do this, right? I
did.
Absolutely going to shock you on something. And that is, people don't realize that before I really opened myself up to hockey, became a fan of the first team I liked was that very. So I had to watch a lot of games. I like that team, man. That is a great. and I'm going to go with the Islanders.
Okay, well, you were cutting out there, but I got the Islanders at the end. So, Keith, go ahead and clean it up. What do you got?
Well, Pittsburgh was a great team. They knew how to win. I mean, what was that? Wasn't that like how many years in between Crosby won his last one?
Yeah, they won in 09. I think,
Right. So that was an achievement. Wasn't that the series, right, when the Pittsburgh goalie made the save right at the buzzer? Was that one? Oh, no, that
Yes.
was 09. Or was that 09?
Oh, you're talking about Fleury save? That was
Yes, that was 09. Right, okay. The Islanders, I think, my passion for the Islanders is their 83 team when they swept the Oilers, but that was not their best team. Their best team was that 82 team. And I say that because overall, they won those 15 straight games in a row, ironically, which was beaten by the Penguins. I don't know if people realize that. They
Right.
won 17. But that team, they had, skill and, I go back to like a John Tonelli role player, but yet 30 goals, the whole bit. That was the series against Vancouver where Bossy scored in midair. I remember that. He was off the ice and he scored, and he won the Conn Smythe. So not just because I'm their fan, I just think you put that team up against anyone and they're going to give them, they may not outmatch, for example, the 85 Oilers skill-wise, but I think role-wise, they went unmatched. So I'll have to go with the Islanders.
Okay, so Rich eliminating his Penguins. Wow.
well,
All right, so we got one last quarterfinal matchup. Then we're moving on to the semis and the finals, okay? So the matchup here is the 2000 New Jersey Devils versus the 2018 Washington Capitals. 2000 New Jersey Devils, their key players were Scott Stevens, Patrick Elias, Claude Lemieux, Martin Brodeur, Scott Niedermayer, and Ken Danico. They had a regular season record of 45, 24, 8-5. They were coached by Larry Robinson. The New Jersey Devils use a suffocating defense as their calling card. After putting Larry Robinson as coach in March, they advanced to the Stanley Cup final by defeating the Philadelphia Flyers in a bitter 7-game Eastern Conference final. They then defeated the Dallas Stars for the Cup on a double overtime Game 6 goal by Jason Arnott. And now on to the Washington Capitals. The 2018 Washington Capitals, their key players were Alex Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom, John Carlson, TJ Oshie, Evgeny Kuznetsov, Tom Wilson, and Braden Holtby. Their regular season record was 49, 26, and 7. They were coached by Barry Trotz. The 2018 Washington Capitals finished the regular season in first place in the Metropolitan Division. They got off to a shaky start in the playoffs, losing their first 2 games of their first round matchup against the Columbus Blue Jackets before storming back to win the series. In fact, they would trail in every one of their playoff series at some point. To get to the final, they finally got past the Pittsburgh Penguins, who they defeated, and then they defeated the powerful Tampa Bay Lightning in 7 games. In the final, they beat the surprising Vegas Golden Knights in 5 games and embarked on perhaps the most epic post-game Stanley Cup celebration history of all time. Rich, who's better?
well, first of all, you're never going to get me to say anything good about the Capitals. That's just,
I agree.
yeah, we're going to go with the Devils on this one. And
Okay.
yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'll be nice.
Oh, I thought I had you for a second, Rich. I thought I had you. All right, Keith. who you got?
Bill Guerin was on that team too, right?
I think he was.
Yeah.
I mean, great role player. That team, I remember everything about that team, but the most memorable moment was when Stevens smashed Eric Lindros. Nailed him in open ice. And that was it. That was the difference. I mean, that team, I don't think I've ever seen a better defensive team. So the Devils.
Wow. We had agreement all across the board. And, I think that hit was kind of like the beginning of the end for Eric Lindros.
That was it. He never recovered.
It was just never the same after that.
Nope.
Never. Okay. Well, we're through the first round. Now, for the next rounds, I'm not going to read the team information and all that. I'm going to give you guys the teams, and you're going to pick. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're into the semifinals of the Prince of Wales Conference. Game 1, 1994 New York Rangers versus the 1989 Calgary Flames. Keith, who's better?
Rangers.
Rich.
Flames.
Oh, dun, 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 dun. We're going to Judge Leo. And this is a rigged jury right here.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you got that right.
don't worry about that.
I got 2 slams to my Rangers, picking the Rangers. Although I always had a soft spot in my heart for the Flames when they first come on. I always did like them, but
Well, especially Lanny McDonald.
the 94 Rangers, that was a special year. That's why I'm going with the Rangers.
It wasn't just the 94 Rangers. It would have been the Rangers from any year, and you would have gone with them.
Well, no, I do think of the other teams occasionally.
All right, semifinal matchup number 2. The 1991 Pittsburgh Penguins versus the 1977 Montreal Canadiens. Rich.
Oh man, come on! I have to play Homer here. I got Penguins. I have to,
Super Mario against Guy Lafleur.
and you should too.
I don't have a vote.
Oh,
But Keith does. Who you got, Keith?
Oh man. And again, I respect the Penguins. I mean, I just do as an organization. People don't realize they've won 5 Stanley Cups. I mean, that's, so, but I got to go with that 77 Canadian team. I mean, even if it was a different year Canadian team, but that year, I was just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's true. But since we have a split decision, it's going back to the judges' table. Judge Leo, your verdict, please.
This is a real tough one because I'm certainly not a Penguins fan, but I'm going to go with the Penguins. I'm
Wow.
going to go with the Penguins, guy.
Wow.
I just think if they played the Canadiens, those 2 teams played, I think the Penguins would have come out on top.
Okay.
They had a hell of a lineup. So did Montreal, but I mean,
that's fine. Like I said,
Penguins.
the 77 Canadiens stumbling in the semifinals. Bye-bye. On to the Campbell Conference. It's the 1985 Edmonton Oilers versus the 2002 Detroit Red Wings. Keith, what do you think?
Boy.
Oh man.
Now it's getting tough.
Now it's getting tough. Again, oh man, you can't go with your heart. Edmonton.
All right. How about you, Rich?
that's probably one of the other tough matchups we've had here. That's a killer. But how do you go against Edmonton? I don't know how you do it. So, no.
Team Hall of Fame against Team Hall of Fame, really.
Yes.
I think the difference there is Gretzky in his prime.
Yeah. I mean, oh.
Okay, so goodbye to the 2002 Detroit Red Wings. And now here you go, Keith, just for you. The last semifinal matchup is the 1982 New York Islanders versus the 2000 New Jersey Devils. Who do you got?
Oh man, that's tough. I see Clark Gillies and Scott Stevens going at it. I see Brodeur is a better goalie than Billy Smith. I see the Islanders having more balance, meaning not as good of a defense, but a much better offense. I see the Islanders winning their 3rd, and that would be Devils just winning that year. Oh, man. Who was the coach of Larry Robinson?
Larry Robinson, yep.
Yeah, okay. And it's not because of who I am. I got to go with the Islanders.
Okay. Rich.
Leo, we're going to need your assistance here because I'm going Devils all the way.
Wow.
Oh, boy, you really threw me under the bus on that one.
Well, there, Judge Leo, you got off light in the quarterfinals. No longer, my friend.
Yeah, well, that's well, I got to just give me a second here. It's just I can't stand it.
He's going to go into his chambers for a second. Hold on.
I can't stand the Islanders, but that 82 team was just, they were amazing. And the Devils, they were coming on. I hate to say it, but I'm going to go with the Islanders.
Oh, the 2000 Devils are eliminated. Oh, wow.
This is tough.
Well, yeah, it was meant to be.
This is not easy.
All right, we're on to the conference finals. The Prince of Wales Conference Finals features the 1994 New York Rangers versus the 1991 Pittsburgh Penguins. Rich, Who do you have?
It's not even a homer on this one. I'm going to go with the Penguins. You got it?
I had a feeling you were. Any particular reason why other than it's the Penguins?
Mario Lemieux. Tell you what, Mario Lemieux, that whole roster, man, it's all Hall of Famers. They were a dominant team.
Fair enough.
And
Fair enough. People forget how good Tom Barrasso was for them, too.
Absolutely.
All right, they're the doctor of hockey. What do you think?
So team against team as was. I agree. I think they were more skilled. They were also younger. And I know that experience matters. But in this matchup, I think the little bit more youth and strength has to go with the Penguins on that one. I would agree with that.
Wow, so you're both going with the Penguins, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Goodbye to the 94 Rangers. The Penguins are on to the final. All right. Now the Campbell Conference final matchup is the 1985 Edmonton Oilers versus the 1982 New York Islanders. Keith, who do you
Why do I
have?
have to go first? I've been kind
Rich
to
went first
everyone.
last time.
Oh, my friggin' God.
Uh,
All right. So let me think this out. I got to think about this. So, okay. 83 Islanders beat them. 84 Oilers beat them. Right? Oilers. So
This is basically just another rematch.
well, it's another rematch, but both are in their prime.
Correct.
If you have to look at it like that. Like the Islanders won their fourth in a row based on their experience and knowing how to win. Edmonton beat them the following year because they were better. It's that simple. And the Islanders were older. So that is, I guess it comes down to quantity versus quality. And I think the quality has to go with the Islanders. I just think they had better role players. They had better depth. They just knew how to win. So, and it's not just because I'm their fan. I mean, it would have been a 7-game series. It would have been intense, but I think they would have come out ahead.
A knockdown drag out, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Now, Rich,
I could
let's
make
hear it.
this really interesting and just say the Islanders just to get them into the finals. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let this one go to Leo because I got to go with the Oilers. I got them, man.
Okay.
Leo.
Would it have been a 7-game series?
What's that?
Would it have been a 7-game series?
No, 6.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Okay, they're judge.
Listen to what they said. Boy, I tell you, this is tough. It would definitely go 7 games,
Okay.
and it's going to go into overtime.
Oh,
And Gretchen's going to get the overtime winner. Go with the Oilers.
oh man. A man after my own heart.
I
Gretzky got the
didn't do
winner.
that for you, son. It was just, you know how I feel about the Islanders. But it's tough. That's, man.
Isn't it though?
This
Yeah,
is
no,
hard.
I can respect that.
No, I mean, it had to go into overtime
I mean-
at the end. Both of those teams are just amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But
Well,
speaking of amazing teams, we are down to the final 2. We are in the Marty's Madness final. And in that final is the 1991 Pittsburgh Penguins versus the 1985 Edmonton Oilers. Rich, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Oh, God. What do you do? That's a 7-game series. I can't even go homer on this. I got to go with the Oilers. I just gotta. As much as I love my Penguins, and they're going to disown me for saying that, I Oilers.
Okay. Keith?
I would have to agree. No, I think the Oilers are it. I'll tell you.
You just made the judge very happy.
Thank you.
You know, it would a better matchup would have been the 77 Canadiens. I would have liked to have seen that with the 85
Yeah.
Oilers.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
But I agree. I would have to go with Edmonton against the Penguins of that year.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks.
Boy.
The 1985 Edmonton Oilers are the Marty's Madness champions. Woo! Crowd's going crazy. Well, thank you, gentlemen. That was fun. And I think what we're going to do, since we're dying to take a commercial break here, we're going to end this segment, as we always do, with breakaway trivia. And this week, the breakaway trivia question is, who is the all-time NHL leader for goals scored amongst number 1 overall draft picks? The answer when we come back.
Visit My Little Falls and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the city. Our mission is to generate interest in the community and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of Little Falls, New York. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, and our events calendar. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling stories about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of local residents and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes store or sign up for our weekly newsletter. Stop by today at mylittlefalls.com. You'll be glad you did.
And we're back with segment 2 of Marty's Illegal Stick. We all had to get something to drink after that long extended Marty's Madness tournament there. So we're all refreshed and ready to go. So before we get going, I'm going to read that breakaway trivia question one more time.
Oh, I forgot it.
Who is the all-time NHL leader for goals scored amongst number 1 overall draft picks? So, Rich, I'll ask you first.
I mean, everything's always Gretzky, isn't it? That's right.
Well, Gretzky wasn't drafted.
Oh.
This is number 1 overall picks only.
Oh, boy. Hold on here, then. Give me a minute.
So, Scott, when you say number 1, not in the first round, the one who selected first.
Number 1 overall, correct. Yep.
Oh, boy. I don't know. Now, that just threw me. Totally threw me. Go ahead. Go on, and I'm going to think for a minute.
Okay. Got a guess, Keith?
Yeah, let me. I'm just trying to think of who's number 1 here. I'm wondering, and I don't know if Yzerman was number 1 or not, because I know he went. Okay, because he went ahead of LaFontaine.
Correct.
Who went 3. So for me, it's going to come down to Yzerman or Mike Modano.
Oh.
And because I think Modano was number 1 too.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with Modano.
Okay. Rich?
That I can't dispute that. I'll say second it. Why not?
Dad, got a guess?
Okay, Mike Yzerman. I don't know.
Dave the Save, have you been checking out your phone? Or? All right, I'll give you guys the answer. You're going to kick yourselves when you hear it because he's still playing. Alex Ovechkin.
Oh, jeez.
Alex Ovechkin?
Yeah, Alex Ovechkin.
Well, first off, I didn't even know he was picked number 1.
Yeah, he was number 1 overall draft pick. I think it was 2003.
With
Correct?
the Capitals, obviously.
Well, I'm 0 for 21.
So there you have it. Everybody got stumped.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have thought him.
Wow. I should have known that. Totally should have known.
I know, given such a big Capitals fan you are.
Oh, not only that, but that was Malcolm was taking number 2 on that.
Yeah.
I was thinking Malcolm myself.
Oh, all right. Well, let's get to hot takes. So congratulations to both Jordan Stahl, the Carolina Hurricanes, and Milan Lucic of the Calgary Flames on playing their 1,000th NHL games. Hard to believe they've been around that long.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said too. Like, it doesn't seem possible, but they have. So anyways, next, Henrik Lundqvist had a setback in his recovery from heart surgery and will not be able to resume playing this season after all. He still hopes to come back next season, and I hope he does. You never, we've been over this a couple of times now, but, he was really hoping to get back on the ice this year, and apparently it's not really a setback. He's just not recovering as fast as they wanted him to. So no point in taking a chance, right?
No.
That's for sure.
Oh, Scott, do you think he will be back?
I think he will try one more year. I really do.
I mean,
I don't know if it's going to be with the Capitals or not, but
I was going to ask that. Who's it going to be with?
I think it's going to be one of those situations where he goes into the season as a free agent into next season, and then somebody's going to need a goalie at some point, and they're going to give him a shot. That's how I think it's going to happen.
Okay.
Could be. Very well.
But we'll see. What do I know? So our Utica Comets are back in action. They won Tuesday night in front of fans at the Adirondack Bank Center against Syracuse. They play the Providence Bruins on Friday at 3 p.m. and then Monday night against Syracuse. Both games are on the road. The Comets are currently third in the AHL North Division. It was really cool seeing fans back in the Adirondack Bank Center. It was on TV the other night. And I'm telling you, I've said this before, but that Jason Shia and Gary Heenan do a fantastic job on the commentary. They really do. Like I said, if Coach Heenan wants to retire from coaching, he's got a job in TV. That's for sure.
Scott, what's the limit capacity? Like how many were in the stands?
400 are allowed. I don't know how many tickets they sold.
Yeah, I think they had 400 in there, which, it can hold 4,000, but
right.
I guess it's better than nothing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll take what we can get. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Now the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the NHL trade deadline real quick. Okay. Now it was actually not quite as busy as I thought it was going to be, quite frankly. I thought there was going to be a lot more trades, but there's three in particular I just want to kind of touch on. First of all, Keith, the Kyle Palmieri trade. As an Islander fan, what'd you think about it?
Well, I kind of foresaw it coming. I didn't see Lou Lamoriello going after like a Taylor Hall type. I don't know if it was worth that investment. Although what the Bruins gave up, I didn't think was that much. No, but the key is, are they going to be able to retain him? I like Palmieri, and I like him because I think he, like you said it too, Scott, he fits in their system. So he accomplishes the goal scoring that they're going to need, but he's also that defensive-minded player. Now, I never want to give up a draft pick, and that's a first round, and that's 2 years in a row. The only reason I'm okay with it is they kind of are in a win now, win next year mode, I would think. And the draft pick is going to be a late first round. It's not like they're giving up a top five. So that's how I look at it, because being an Islander fan at this point, I'm kind of sick of draft picks anyway. It's time. I'm getting so close, or we're getting so close, that I thought it was well worth it. No, yeah, I do. And they didn't lose anybody from their roster or any young prospects worth mentioning. So I'm okay with it.
You know what made that trade worthwhile? Was getting Zajac on top of it.
Right.
That's what made it right there. If it was just Palmieri for a first rounder, I'd have been like, boy, you do what you got to do at the trade deadline when you think you're that close. But getting Travis Zajac, is you're going to like him. He's going to be a really good depth piece in your bottom six.
Right.
So, Rich, what do you think about the Taylor Hall trade? Because that was just kind of, I thought Buffalo was going to be able to get a lot more for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know something too, though? We've said it for the past couple of weeks. Buffalo is in such a hole right now, and Taylor Hall really wasn't doing anything there. So I'm sure he's got to be thanking his lucky stars for getting out of Buffalo. But you know what? He didn't really start. He played last night, right? That was the first. Yeah. And I don't think he scored. I don't think anything happened on that. But still, man, he's got to be happy just to get out of there. Why not? So
yeah, he did have that no trade clause, and there's rumors going around that he was kind of forcing Buffalo's hand wanting to go to Boston. Mm-hmm. So that could be why they were only able to get the second round pick and Anders Bjork back. Because if it's known that that's where he wants to go, what kind of leverage do you really have, right? But I'll tell you what. If Taylor Hall plans on getting paid this offseason, then he better have one hell of a run with the Boston Bruins into this playoff season. Because if it turns out that what he was doing in Buffalo is just what he is now, that's not going to be good. And I don't think it is, but he wants to be paid like an elite player. He's going to have to show something now after the disaster that was Buffalo this season.
Well, Scott, you and I we get into these debates about that. Like these players taking these short-term contracts to get to free agency and cash in. And I always come from the position, you don't know what 3 or 4 years is going to be like down the road. Your injury, and he's a perfect example. So last year he goes somewhere, and let's say he signs for 3 or 4 years at $7 million each. So like, what's his name there? Skinner. He's a perfect example. Okay. But now he got the 8, but he's not doing anything, as we all just said. Where's that going to lead him? What's it, 15 games left in the season?
Yeah, about 15. Well, depending on, the team. It's 15
Right.
to 18.
15, 18, and then the playoffs.
Right.
So the playoffs are going to be his measuring tool. So if he doesn't improve drastically, he's not going to be getting no $8 million, let alone a long-term $8 million.
Right. And that's the key right there.
Right.
That is the key. So, I mean, good for Boston getting the guy that they wanted. And it is going to help them because they did need somebody else besides the perfection line to get some scoring for him. Because I'll tell you, that was going to be their Achilles heel going into the playoffs. If you're depending on one line to get all your scoring, that's a recipe for disaster. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely.
All right. So one more trade I want to touch on real quick, and that was the Anthony Mantha trade from Detroit to Washington. Washington gave up the farm basically to get him, which I was quite surprised. They gave up Jacob Vrana, Richard Panik, a first-round pick and a second-round pick. At first I was shocked, right? I was like, my God, they're giving up a ton to get Mantha. But when you look at it, Mantha's actually under contract for the next 3 years, I think. And it's a reasonable cap hit. So what they did was basically what Chicago did when they traded Artemi Panarin to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Brandon Saad. Remember that?
Yeah.
They got Saad back because he had more term left. So it was what they call controllable. So that kind of makes sense a little bit to me. And if they think Mantha's going to fit in and be the guy in that team, then good for them. But what do you guys think?
I think they gave up a lot. At the same time, they're also in a win before mode. They're kind of like on the outside now looking in, but still, close that they could do it. So I could see them. I mean, I thought today Ovechkin is 35 years old.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a free agent. Did you know that?
And that was part of the other reason, too, because Vrana's coming up on free agency and he was going to want to get paid.
Right.
So they kind of had their hands tied there, too.
Right. So I think they gave up a lot.
I wonder what our friend Jamie thinks, Rich.
I actually already talked to Jamie, and he's in recovery mode because hoping that they would retain and see you later. He's no longer there. But Ford, he scored last night. He had an assist, so he's off to a great start with him, right?
Yeah, we'll see. It might be one of those trades that just works out. You never know. So anyways, we're going to wrap up segment 2 here.
Got one thing to add there.
Okay.
You didn't have it in here, so I'm just going to tell you. Last night's Rangers win was their 2000th win in their career, in their history.
Took them long enough.
Oh, next week we'll have a new host.
I mean, they're only 200 years old, for God's sake.
I'm not.
Oh boy!
I'm not taking over, Dad.
Oh no! No. And if I ever see Rich and Jeremy,
Oh my God!
Anything else you want to add? Or?
I thought he was going to say their 20,000. I'm like, well,
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I almost did, to tell you the truth, by mistake.
Oh man!
Alrighty.
So let's wrap up this segment with our website of the week. Website of the week is brought to you by 315hockey.com. 315hockey.com is your news hub for all levels of hockey in Central New York. This week's website of the week, I'm going to make it real simple. It's uticacomics.com. Keep track of your Utica Comics at that website. You can get any kind of information you need, including ticket information and the upcoming schedule. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to take a ride on that Zamboni Time Machine. See you in a few.
Need to find that gift for someone special? Visit Little Falls Presents at the Stone Mill and Canal Place. Stop by today to find unique artist work, t-shirts, coffee cups, gift towels, greeting cards, tote bags, koozies, and original oil paintings and prints. It's all about the art of the gift. For more information, visit mylittlefalls.com/shop or call 315-508-5310 for details.
And we're back with the final segment of Marty's Illegal Stick in our Zamboni Time Machine. The Zamboni Time Machine is brought to you by Zamboni.com, and the Zamboni name is used with permission from the Zamboni Company. This week, the Zamboni Time Machine takes us back to July 19th, 1981, and the birth of the Atlantic Coast Hockey League, or the ACHL. The ACHL was preceded in the Mohawk Valley by the Utica Mohawks of the Northeast Hockey League and the Mohawk Valley Comets of the North American Hockey League, as well as the Clinton Comets of the Eastern Hockey League. The Atlantic Coast Hockey League was formed to fill the void left behind by the Northeast Hockey League. With its strong hockey heritage and backing of Bill Horton, Utica and the Mohawk Valley was awarded a franchise for the league's inaugural season called the Mohawk Valley Stars. Originally, the ACHL was made up of 7 teams, but due to financial difficulties, the league was down to 4 teams by the end of the season. The Mohawk Valley Stars were a rough and tumble team, but successful as well, winning the very first ACHL championship. Speaking of rough and tumble, one of the teams in that inaugural season of the ACHL was owned by Vince McMahon of World Wrestling Entertainment fame. In 1981, McMahon had just purchased the then World Wrestling Federation, which was nowhere near the giant conglomerate that at that time that it is today. He also purchased the Cape Cod Coliseum in South Yarmouth, Massachusetts, but soon discovered he needed to have more than wrestling matches and concerts to make the building profitable. At first, Vince wanted to put an American Hockey League team in the Coliseum, but that fell through, so he entered the Cape Cod Buccaneers in the ACHL to play out of the venue. Almost immediately, McMahon began feuding with the other owners over money and the direction of the league. It all came to a head in January of 1984 when the league denied McMahon a loan to help sustain operating expenses. Furious with the decision, Vince folded his team and counted himself out of hockey forever, thus ending any hope of a future hockey-wrestling connection. And that, my friends, concludes this week's trip on the Zamboni Time Machine. Vince McMahon and hockey. Now, that would have been a great thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that? Just the promotions he could have brought alone to the league?
A lot better than Charlie Finley.
I don't know. A live seal at center ice is pretty tough to top, Keith.
Oh, my God. White sticks.
It's wonder Charlie didn't change the color of the lines.
Oh, well, that was fun, guys. That was a lot of fun this week. And we already know who our guest next week's going to be. So next week we got Jimmy the Iceman McNeil coming on. Now, Jimmy knows pretty much everything there is to know about Zambonis, and he's actually the official Zamboni driver of the year. And I was emailing with him earlier. He's got some fantastic stories he's going to come out and tell us about. So there we go. I think for the first time ever, we know who our guest is a week in advance. I'm pretty proud of that. So
Yeah, nice.
look at Dave. He's all happy over there. Oh, so you can find us on the web at martysillegalstick.com and at mylittlefalls.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Marty's Illegal Stick Hockey Podcast. So for Leo Kinville, for Keith Levatino, for Rich Basucci, and for Dave the Save Warner, of course, I'm Scott Kinville. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.